I'm Dave McNary, and I'm with St. Margaret's, and Richard, my co-host, Richard Maddox, is also here, and we'll introduce each other as we get going in terms of the slides. I just want to say, in terms of the program, Episcopal Seniors really is designed to help you feel more comfortable dealing with.
Oh, I lost the sound.
You're mute, David. You were mute, David, the last couple sentences.
I apologize. Okay. The Episcopal Seniors program, we're going to be sponsoring a regular series this year that will help you, an individual, understand, maintain, and enhance your unique well-being. And we're defining that topics such as health, spiritual, strength, climate change, social interactions, financial status, and a whole host of others that you encounter in your daily life. And so that's sort of the basis of this. The other concept here is that it's between parishes, so we get to know each other, we get to see each other, because in the northern region here, a lot of us are going to be working closely in terms of different programs. And we introduced it a little bit to the diocese this morning, and they're very interested in it as well. So with that, let me, in the spirit of spirituality, let me begin with a brief prayer. Almighty God, we thank you for gathering us together in your midst. We have not been the stewards of your creation that we ought to have been. Guide us through this program to learn to be better, to honor your creation, and to be the caretakers you always meant us to be. We hope to rise to this challenge with your help through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you. And now let me go into this. Okay, and all right. Climate change, I'm going to make it personal to you. That's the whole idea. At the end here, I think you'll feel, are there personal actions really that you can take to reduce the impacts of climate change? As I said before, this is a beginning of the Episcopal Seniors program that is co-sponsored between St. Paul's Parish in Pleasant Valley, as well as St. Margaret's in Stottsburg. And we're excited about this beginning. Today, David McNary, and Richard Maddox, we are both Cornell climate stewards, and Richard has been heavily involved in bringing Hyde Park up to a community sensitive climate for community for climate change. And they are just about ready to be certified at the first level, state level, and that will really help, I think, in terms of bringing the community along. I think Pleasant Valley is already has already achieved that. Michael, I don't know if you know that, but I think they are. So
I can tell you about that because I'm a member of their Climate Smart community. We tried to get our bronze certification, and we're something like 10 points short. So we're hoping that in the next 1 or 2 times when you can submit things, that we will get to the first level.
That's great. So both communities that we're in are really trying to move toward this, which is encouraging. We will have time for questions later at the end of this, and we ask that you hold those, or if you want to put those in the chat, we'll keep those together, and we'll be responding to that. So let me begin with the objectives today. We really quickly want to understand what is climate change, understand its impact actually in Dutchess County because it's substantial, and understand dozens of personal actions that we can take to obviate climate change or to prepare for it. So let me begin here. What is climate change? It's not weather. It really is long-term global variations in temperature, humidity, rainfall, etc. And typically they use 30 years as a range to look at what is moving and what is not. And we'll see some numbers on that in just a little bit. But I want to make that distinction because everybody says, well, it's cold out today, so it must not be climate change. And you really have to look at some long-term indicators, and we'll be talking about that. Let's first look at, let's start with climate change and look at what I call the Earth's energy budget. We get obviously all our heat from the sun. That's if we didn't have a sun, obviously we wouldn't be here. If you look at the Earth here and there is no atmosphere, the average temperature on the Earth, the average temperature would be 0, and we would not be able to exist. We wouldn't be able to grow anything, etc. So without atmosphere, we aren't here. Now, if you put the first level of atmosphere, and that is primarily nitrogen and oxygen, which are about 97% of what our atmosphere is, you have what I call a light bed sheet or a light blanket, and the average temperature now is about 59. Now, what is the average temperature? They're measuring that throughout the Earth, throughout the day and the night, and that's what they come up with. So 59 is an average. We also see at that point a very low CO2 activity. And let me point out that when the sun's heat, I'm going to back up a minute. Excuse me. If the sun's heat comes down, it has to dissipate up in the air with the same amount of energy. So the heat we get from the sun has to escape the Earth and the atmosphere. If it doesn't, we're just going to heat up and we will not survive. So the escape of that heat is vital in terms of that. Now, if we look at the next slide here, what we now have is we have the atmosphere and we have a higher CO2. And now the Earth's temperature has moved up. In the last 20 years, it's moved up 1 degree Fahrenheit. So it's now at about 60 degrees. And one of the unique things about CO2, well, let me back up. In the atmosphere, we have greenhouse gases, and you've heard that term. What does that mean? It means primarily moisture, and moisture is a big part of greenhouse gas. If we didn't have moisture in here, we would not be as warm as we are. Now, moisture moves, clouds move, and you know, on a clear day with a high pressure, it's cooler typically. When the clouds come in, it may warm up, and if you get a lot of humidity, it's going to warm up. So you can see that effect, but it's moving and changing all the time as the clouds move. So it is not a permanent blanket over that. The other CO2, which is about 0.1% of that 3% that was left, has a unique characteristic, and that is that heat and the radiation from the sun, when it bounces off the Earth and is coming back up, stops it. It's very effective at stopping it. Now, because we're having more of the CO2, we're stopping more of the heat. And it's just like adding a comforter to a light blanket that you might have. And if that heat continues to remain on the Earth, our temperatures are going to increase. And that's one of the, that's the big problem that we're running into. The CO2 will stay up there and will block a lot of the heat escaping from the Earth, which the Earth is asking it to allow to escape out into space. So we have this basic energy, Earth's energy budget here, and we're running into trouble with the CO2. Another part of the CO2 that's kind of troublesome is that it doesn't just go up there and dissipate after a year. It's up there for years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And methane is up there longer. And so when you start to get those up there and they are stopping heat and they stay up there longer, you can see the problem that's starting to come. Okay. Now, this tells us about CO2, and this is a disturbing graph here because it shows, now, you guys weren't around 800,000 years ago, but they have been able to measure through cores, etc., exactly what the CO2 level was for back 800,000 years. But look at the last 100 years on the far right and the current level, and you can see a dramatic increase in CO2 from just in the last 20 or 30 years. And this is primarily from the burning of carbon from energy, burning it from gas and coal and oil. So this is a significant issue, and remember, the CO2 blanket doesn't just dissipate. So the more CO2 we get up there, the more we're getting into trouble in terms of raising the temperature. Okay. Now, what's the effect? Well, you can see global warming. The temperature is going up. This is 1940, and it's starting to go up at a higher rate today. You can see the climate change indicator to the sea temperature is going up, and this is significant in terms of impacting weather. The warmer the water, the more we're going to get hurricanes and other storms coming off the ocean, and we're starting to see that. We're starting to see more of those. Rising sea level, significant because we are impacting the three key areas where ice is the Antarctic, the Arctic, and Greenland are the three major stations where we find a lot of ice, and that ice is melting because of the rise in temperature. Here's an indicator, annual Arctic ice. You can see the red line here, and it's coming down significantly. When you look at the Arctic, which is primarily ice, and it starts to melt, the sun then is able to warm up the water as opposed to just reflecting off of the ice. It's one of the nice things about ice, it does reflect the rays of the sun back up immediately. But when that ice reduces, then the sun is absorbed in the water around it, particularly in the Arctic. Less in the Antarctic, but still has the same impact. So we have a significant problem in terms of ice not only melting, but starting to raise the level of the oceans. We are predicting probably by 2100 that, for example, we'll see 60 to 70 inches rise in the Hudson River just from the rise from the ocean. Now, we are obviously one of the contributors. We're not the only ones, but we are a significant contribution to the increase. And where is it coming from? Well, CO2 is used in manufacturing, in generating electricity, in our agriculture, in transportation, and in air conditioning and heating. And you can see sort of these are generally the percentages that we find from CO2 combustion. So you can see there's a lot of areas there where we are getting that, and a lot of effort now is being made to transition. So let's see, how are you might say, well, that's cool, and we see, everybody's talking about climate change. Are we really being impacted around here? I mean, we hear about it in California, we hear about the forest fires, we hear about Texas getting Arctic freezes, and we hear about all of that, but is it really impacting us? Well, let's look here at some of the weather changes that are being projected. Now, the baseline here is the last 30 years. So days greater than 90 degrees Fahrenheit right now for the last 30 years, it's been around 10. We expect in the next 10 years, that's going to go up to 29. In the next 30 years, that's going to go up to 46 days that are over 90. That means more cooling, more heat here. Days greater than 95, you can see 1, 4, and 7 in terms of that. So the heat indicator terms of what they're predicting is going up. Heat waves, which are significant lengths of heat around, we see those going up. We see the length of those heat waves increasing. So again, I don't know if you recall July last year, we had sort of an inversion. We had a lot of humidity and we had heat, and it was very hard for people with allergies. It was very difficult and hard on gardens around here. A lot, ours, Catherine's, my wife's garden, really took a beating in terms of what plants could thrive in that. And we had a number that did not do well. So we're starting to see that. Now, the last here is how many days are we going to have in the year that are less than 32 degrees or freezing? Well, right now it's about 150, which is a little more than half. You can see in the 20s, that's going to go down probably about 20. And then in the 50s, it's going to go down another 20%. So you're going to see significant warming over the year, which is going to change our growth patterns. You might say you could put your garden in earlier, but and you're going to have longer fall in terms of heat. But what is that going to mean to insects and bugs and other kinds of things? So we need to start thinking about that. Now let's look at the average air temperature. We talked about the Earth's average air temperature, which is around 60. Here in Dutchess County, the annual average temperature is about 50 right now. But we anticipate in the 50s, that's going to go up 5 degrees, that's 10%. In the 80s, it's going to go up another 2 degrees. So you have about 12 or 14% increase in your average air temperature here, which is significant. Your annual precipitation, again, will go up. And I think also they're predicting that we're going to get more heavy storms that come in. We've experienced a couple of those where they come in quickly and they give us a deluge, and something that we perhaps are not as well prepared for. Days under 1 inch of rain, you can see 14, 16, 17, and days over 2 inches starting to increase. So there's clearly a pattern of what they're projecting for Dutchess County. And Dutchess County is unique in terms of the not the topographical, but the how we're constructed around here with the valley. And you all know, and you've tried to dig places, we've got a lot of stone here, a lot of rock. And as a result, the draining of water is impacted. And we see that in the different rivers and different streams here that are trying to take all that precipitation. And it means that we're going to have to prepare a lot more in terms of how we're handling our streams, what we build on, what we build around on. And you will see an impact starting now in the zoning board for Hyde Park now has to consider much more rigorously of somebody building within 100 feet of a stream that needs to be protected appropriately for water to come down. Now, let me give you an example, Dutchess downpour. You're looking here at a downpour that occurred a couple of years ago, and this was probably a day and a half of rain. They got 4 inches in about 15 hours. And this was a little creek which ran along these trees here, probably 2 feet deep if you went out there right now. And there was a culvert that was not appropriately sized. And this is what we saw. And the house, which you can just see an edge of here, got 4 feet of water in it. Now, interestingly, I was walking in it to take this picture, and the water was probably mid-thigh on me right at that point. 4 hours later, this is what you saw. The culvert, the water had finally gone through the culvert, and this water had gone away. It's an indicator that we're seeing here in Hyde Park with our watersheds, particularly the Fallkill watershed. There are probably, I'm going to estimate 50 culverts right now or more that are undersized. And if we have more rain, we're going to see a lot more of these kinds of things. So it's something that we're going to need to prepare for. Here's some other examples here. This was a heavy downpour, and you see an overwash of the pavement came through. You look here, a house was flooded, stream overflow into the yards, and here overwash pavement. So all of these are indicators of dramatic storms, and we're going to see more of those in the Hudson Valley. And it's something that we're going to need to prepare for. Now, the question then comes is, what can we do? What can the individual do? Because I'll be honest with you, you hear about climate change. Well, what can we do? Climate change, the world's got to do it. All the countries got to do it. But in fact, there's a lot that you and I can do. And Richard is going to talk about that. Just what can we do? So let's start there. And Richard, you're on.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate the background. I would like to make a little footnote here, however. We got the press release today, and Hyde Park is now a climate smart community, certified bronze. So I think we're all going to go out and party a little bit tonight.
Congratulations. And that
There's a lot of effort,
90%.
a lot of effort, and a lot of work got involved in that. So what can you do about this? We've heard the conversations about climate change and that we're going to have to deal with it, but what can you do about it? So we have 29 activities here that will help you reduce your impact. And I should point out that these 29 came from an organization called Gray and Green. They have a little deck of cards that doesn't work too well for Zooming, but it certainly does work well in person. Next slide. Broadly speaking, we're talking about two categories of activities. One is mitigation. How do you reduce that which contributes to climate change? How can you reduce activities that are contributing to climate change? The second one is adaptation. We've got climate change underway, folks. What can we do to reduce its impact? Next slide. So I presume that you folks have this worksheet in front of you. Could I ask you to kindly pull that out and sort of lay it on a magazine with a pen, and you can make some notations on it? Because right away here we need to make some notations. I'm seeing everybody scurrying for a magazine. Up at the very top, you'll notice A, B, and C. Under A, write, next slide, doing. Under B, write, no way, Jose, or something like that. And third, under the C, write maybe. Next slide, please. What we'd like for you to do is mark an X when we go down through this list of 29 or so. Put an X. I'm doing this already. You know what? I would never consider ever doing this. And the third one is, if you are, you would consider perhaps doing it, mark an X in the C column. Mark according to how you feel at this moment, not how you don't think about it too much, just how you're feeling about it right now. Next slide, please. Number one, use public transportation. Are you doing it? no way, maybe. Plant a tree. And I'm going to go down through this pretty quickly so you don't think about it too much. Just real quickly, how do you respond? Mark it. Plant a tree. Doing? No way, maybe. No fair speed reading down through the list or you'll mess me up here. Give up your car. Doing? No way, maybe. Insulate your water heater. Doing? No way, maybe. Move to smaller house, less bedrooms. Get an energy audit. Vote for candidates supporting sustainable policy actions. Talk about climate change with family, friends. Write or lobby elected officials. Take part in climate demonstrations. Am I going too fast? Are you folks keeping up with me? Okay, I'm seeing heads. Okay. Install and use a programmable thermostat. Transition to solar energy. Join a climate organization. Have a meatless meal per week. A meatless meal per week. Wash clothes in cold water. Dry clothes without a dryer, what we refer to here at our place with the rope out there going over to the tree, our organic clothes dryer. Use reusable metal water bottles. Shorter showers. Turn off water while toothbrushing. Buy fresh, locally grown food one time more per week. Install LED lights. Buy energy efficient appliances such as refrigerators, air conditioners, dehumidifiers. How about energy efficient appliances such as washers and dryers? Compost. Doing it? No way. Or you would consider it. Recycle. Fly one less trip per year. You know, I didn't make this clear, Dave, but I meant in an airplane. None of this flapping your wings type thing. Fly one less trip per year. Install double glazed windows. Buy fuel efficient car or vehicle. Drive one less trip per week. Replace air filters in the home. Whew, how did that trip go, folks? Next slide. Could I bother you for the next slide? So count how many X's you have in column A, column B, and column C. And I'm going to, well, I have a prediction. Oh, here we go. This is a typical participant made these marks. Next slide. Add up your columns. How many A's did you have? How many B's did you have? How many C's did you have? Has everybody finished counting? Who needs more time to count? Does anybody need more time to count? Rita, could I ask you to unmute everyone? Can you unmute? Carolyn and Marilyn are still muted.
The same as you, probably 18, 3, and 7.
22 and 7. We don't have.
Okay,
20.
if you can't make a global
I can't make a
unmute.
global.
Okay, so Marilyn, might you unmute yourself, and the Wilson family there, unmute yourself. What did you notice about the sums of the three columns? Is there anything that surprised you?
David Wilson?
We didn't add them up. We don't have a printer, so we couldn't
Okay.
print it out.
Well,
Oh,
so I had that I could 13 doing.
Okay, how many no?
How many know that? You mean no ways?
Yes.
That's it, no ways.
One,
Oh, this should be the next one. And maybe move this one. No, maybe.
2.
right off the top of my head, because we didn't do it, but I'll just be honest with you, I can't give up a car.
Yep,
I
Good.
can't give, I can't do the double glazed windows. The rest I'm very willing to do. I don't need to replace air filters because of how I heat my house.
So you would have had 15 that maybe with that total.
Yeah.
13 yes, 2 no way. The rest is 15 maybe.
well, let me just pose the question to everyone. Were you surprised how many doings are that you're
Yes.
currently doing? Were you
Yes.
surprised?
Yes, quite a few.
The
most.
fact that you're here at this discussion would suggest that you have sort of a mind oriented in this direction, but congratulate yourself. You did well. Let's move on to the next slide, Rita, Dave.
David.
And if everybody could mute themselves. Okay, now we're going to ask you to do another exercise. Of the ones that you marked in the maybe column, check 5 activities you are most likely to do in the future. And those of you, maybe your printer ink, it happens to me, the printer ink gives up, and I didn't print something out. If you work down through there, what 5 sort of are things that you're most likely to do? Now, the next step. Of those 5, circle 2. Next slide. Next slide, please.
Muted, I think.
Next slide, please.
Yeah, okay. All right. Rita? I need your help on this. For some reason, I'm not getting it.
I don't know why.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Circle of the 5 that you marked as likely to do, circle 2 that you are most likely to do. And then, next slide. Put a star over the one that you are going to do in the next 60 days. Next slide. Congratulations, folks. You just chose the personal action you will do to reduce the impact of climate change, over and above the things that you are already doing. But that's one of them that was out there dangling, that you hadn't worked on, that you hadn't concentrated on. Congratulations, you just chose that. So do me a favor and put that, if you feel comfortable, put that activity in the chat for all to see. Wash with cold water. You know, I switched to cold water once I ran across this. Join it. Good. Next. So now I'm going to introduce energy audit and fresh food. Good. Now we're going to introduce another concept to you, and that is energy audit. Good, good. If you need any help figuring out how to do an energy audit, just go to NYSERDA Energy Audit, and you'll find out where you can do an energy audit for free. We're going to introduce the notion of buddy calls. Now, you know, you mark that one item with a star, and everybody's going to do that. One they had a star on, everybody's going to do it. But just in case, we're going to introduce a mechanism that you can sort of check up on your progress by talking with your buddy. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. In the next week or so, you're going to receive the name of someone in this group that you are to call. When you receive that, please, this is part of the program here, folks, contact that person right away. And you have some charges here. It's your charge to say it and their charge to ask you. Discuss when and how you're going to do this activity. And then, so very importantly, set a time when you're going to have their next conversation about this. So obviously, each person is going to be communicating with 2 other people. And you're going to essentially be holding yourself accountable 2 different ways. Next slide. So now what? In the next couple of months, we'll get together again and we'll see how everybody's doing. But in the next week or so, you're going to receive, as you can read here, a comprehensive list of activities. And we researched, I think it was 7 or 8 different organizations worldwide. And there's a list of about 200 plus, 220, 230 activities. And we're going to ask you to go down through those activities, maybe. There's about 8 different categories of activities. And mark the same thing. Doing, congratulate yourself. Not doing, that's fine. You're not doing, don't worry about that. Put that to one side. Put those not ever going to do it Put it to one side. Don't beat yourself up. That's history. We're concentrating on the maybe list and then go down through that maybe list. One of the most impactful things that you can do, don't get me wrong, the other things, anything you do is valuable, no question. But one of the most impactful things you can do is to contact your elected officials and encourage them to support legislation that provides incentives to that provide incentives that will result in developing of new technologies that are going to be reducing carbon. You're also going to receive in the next period of time a name of a number of different climate organizations, so you can kind of keep track of what legislation through these organizations, what environmental and climate, specifically climate change or activities are that are in the works. And you'll also receive your buddy information. So over the next 60 days, talk to your buddy. Hold their feet to the fire because somebody else is going to be holding your feet to the fire. There, did I say that? I didn't want to say that. Disregard that. And so talk to your buddy. But the other thing, folks, please realize the power of this next thing. Talk to your family and your friends and your coworkers. You know, don't sermonize or anything like that. That's just when people are just going to see you later, folks. You start sermonizing, that's just not going to work. But in the course of conversation, talk to them about this exchange that we just had. Next slide. And there was supposed to be one last slide with contact information. But anyway, that be as it may. There we go. Have a positive influence. Don't beat yourself up. Have a positive influence. Seek and act on ways to reduce what contributes to the climate change and prepare for the impacts of climate change. You can see the difference of the two. But I don't know where I got this. Bounce forward and thrive under change. But I think that's kind of an interesting concept to keep in your mind. Bounce forward and thrive under change. Dave, of course, is your contact. Rita and Dave are your contacts. But this is my contact as well, should that ever prove necessary to be in contact with me. And with that, I think I'm going to pass it back to you, Dave.
Okay, thank you very much. Rita, am I muted? Let's see.
No, you're not muted.
I'm not muted. Okay. Rita, we had talked, folks, we had talked about a brief survey. I'm not sure.
Yep, we have it.
We're going to try it here.
Yep, we
Do I
sure
need-
are. Hang on one
Do I
sec.
need to stop, do I need to stop screen sharing?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Oh.
and then let's see. 1 second. I am looking for, not this one. I am looking for 1 second. Here we go. Delete this. As soon as I can figure out how to.
Folks, you're watching a master work.
Oh,
on the
stop. Yeah, I can try and relaunch this poll
we are.
and see if anyone can take this poll. I made a simpler one, but
Doesn't seem to take.
yeah, you have to, it's an advanced poll, not a basic poll, so I don't know if it's going to work.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, we'll send
It
out.
worked.
Does
It
it work?
works. I'm doing it.
Oh,
Okay,
try it out.
Would you like to learn more about, is that with climate change? Or in general with the Episcopal Seniors?
Climate change.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Rita.
Sorry. Cut and paste isn't always our friend. And there are 6 questions, so you have to scroll down.
Okay, now that's not working. Oh, yeah,
Oh.
there we go. I got it.
Oh, look at that.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay.
2 people have responded so far. This is very exciting.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay,
Rita, how do you
Yes.
type? I can push buttons for yes and no, but I don't know how to type. There's no letters.
Oh,
Let me-
okay. Well,
I'm on an iPad. Is that the problem?
that might be the problem. I
Okay.
didn't realize that that was going to be a problem when I created the poll. So future
Okay.
polls will be simpler. So you can just,
You
You
can
know-
I did
type
the
using
yes,
your
no
own
ones,
keyboard.
but I can't type.
okay.
did you type, Kathy?
Yeah, you can type using your own keyboard.
What keyboard?
You're not on a computer?
No,
I'm
she's
not-
on an
I'm
iPad.
Uh,
Oh,
So just save your poll or whatever at the bottom so that we get the answers to the yes and no's.
Yep. Save, or submit. I
Same
guess.
thing for you, Marilyn.
Are you gonna have a few question and answer times, David, or?
yes. yes.
Okay, okay, I don't want to interrupt then.
I've pushed submit, but nothing seems to happen.
Oh,
if you don't run,
Catherine, you're muted.
if you can't type, the survey won't know that you're finished. You have to put something in the boxes for it to be finished.
Oh, that's right.
So
Well,
you won't,
okay.
you won't get
So
the
the
answer.
people on iPads, we won't be able to get them. Shoot.
Well, any of the questions that were yes, no, I put yes, so you can add them in.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so has everybody that can, is anyone still working on the poll?
I think everybody's done.
Okay, so I am going to end the poll. And we had
Good response.
excellent. So what would we like to learn more about? We'd like to learn more about solar energy. In my home, would be good to explain to folks how they can get electric supply from renewables through ESCO. I thought the survey was interesting. I also liked the portion that was part into the Hudson Valley. Information was presented clear. Okay, more about ESCO. They like the exercise. Okay, so let's get on to questions that people have.
Kathleen, you had some questions.
There we go. I know that you and Richard are Cornell climate stewards.
Yes.
I just wondered what exactly that means. Just out of curiosity, not, it's fabulous. And and I might have missed you introducing Richard.
Richard has been the primary reason that Hyde Park now is certified as a climate sensitive community, and has worked both with the Hyde Park Board, et cetera, and a lot of committees to get this done. So the flags all go to Richard for this. Both Richard and I went through the Cornell stewardship program. It's the first one they've done. It's a 12-week program where it actually is excellent. It was very, very well done in terms of giving you a lot of information, how to approach what is climate change, how to define it. Also, what are the, not only what are the things you can do, but how do you engage people? And each of us had a ongoing project, and this program is a part of the project that Richard and I have engaged in, and we will be doing this in other venues as well. So it's been pretty rigorous, and they're looking to see if they can do it again. I think this fall they may have another one here. And kudos to Cornell for putting this together, and they are an enormous source of information. Even if you wanted to find out some more about climate change, they're a good source on that. And I think in the information that Richard's going to send you, you'll see some contacts there, I think, with Cornell that we can do.
Thank you, David. And thanks to Richard, both of you, for all that you do for Hyde Park, David and Richard.
Thank you. Other concerns or questions? You're all ready to go.
I had one question.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I can get maybe a jump start on one of my tasks, because Debbie had said that you're on the Pleasant Valley Climate Organization. So
Right.
how do you go about joining the Pleasant Valley one?
Oh, you email me and I can put you to the right person. I can get, you got a pen?
Yep.
My email is D as in dog, Glynn, Glynn, and then the numeral 40 at iCloud.com.
All right, perfect. Thanks. That's great.
And I'm just a member of the committee, but I can put you on to the people that are the heads of it. So that'll get you going. We love having new members, so that's wonderful.
Cool. Good.
Look at us making connections.
Good. And this is the first program between St. Paul's in Pleasant Valley and St. Margaret's in Stottsburg. And the next one is going to be on health. And Rita, what date do we have on that?
The date for that is April 23rd, which is also a Saturday. It's the day after Earth Day.
Okay.
And will an email go out, Rita, for that?
Absolutely. Now that I've got your email addresses, you'll be on the mailing list, which we don't share with anybody, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you.
So we'll be getting programs at episcopalseniors.org is the email address to look for. And I'll be sending out emails to let you know what the next program is and what the link is, so that you can find out more about it. And as we have new team members, right now it was David and Richard and I, but as we get new team members that are helping us to present future programs, they'll be on our website. which is episcopalseniors.org. So you can go to the website, lists all our programs for 2022 with the dates and more information and so forth.
Rita,
Also,
oh.
yes,
if somebody wants to listen to the recording, how does that happen?
as soon as I get it edited from today, it will be on the website. So I'll also send out an email to all of you to let you know when the video is available.
And the website is Episcopal Seniors website or our church website?
Episcopalseniors.org.
Okay, thank you.
So Rita, are you all thinking of maybe doing any of this in person eventually, or will we just be Zooming every time?
No, it'll be in person eventually, and depending on what the program is, we're going to go back and forth between St. Margaret's and St. Paul's in terms of hosting them, and we're going to provide transportation between the two churches.
And now that you're saying this, I think David McNary did say that at one point. Sorry,
That-
David.
No,
I
that's
forgot.
okay.
I
That's
forgot.
okay. It's all very new, so we're fine to repeat some of the info.
And that's super exciting to think of doing it in person, just because we get to
Absolutely.
see face-to-face people, within, and, become a little bit more friendly with one another.
Absolutely. And when we do
Let me
them in
just say-
person,
Yeah, Kathy and I attended one of the services over at Pleasant Valley, and we were very warmly received, even though we were from the North Country of St. Margaret's. But yeah, we really look forward to welcoming St. Paul's to come over to St. Margaret's too. We're excited.
we have a very new priest who started on March 1st. So we've been getting her settled before we start traveling over to St. Margaret's, but we look forward to coming and visiting all of you up there.
Yeah, I had a chance to meet her this morning, and she's very excited about it.
Yeah,
And about
absolutely.
St. Paul's too.
I will say that when we meet in person, we will still be recording audio and video so that we have a good document of every program. And then that will also be available on the website.
And on the website, Rita, sorry to ask more, does it
No,
say
please do.
what program will be in person when that starts on that date? Isn't that
We haven't made the
decided yet?
decision. We haven't made the decision yet for what will be in person.
Okay,
So after we got through, it was the big push to get to this one. So David and I will be meeting and we'll decide, for the next one that is in April, if that one's going to be Zoom or in person. As soon as we know, we'll be announcing it on the website and via the email string.
great, thank you.
Absolutely.
But
Any other questions?
Perhaps somebody may have missed in the chat. I put a link in for you to reach NYSERDA for home energy audit.
Yes, thank you, Richard. I did see that. I was going to mention it. So, and I clicked on the link. It took me right over to NYSERDA. So that's a really great thing to do. And I've worked with NYSERDA before. They're really wonderful people and they'll get somebody out to you as soon as they can. So feel free to use that link and just have them come and check out your house to see where you can improve on your energy consumption. Okay.
very good.
Well, we planned for an hour and we're just about right there. So thank you all so much for being here for our inaugural trip around the clock, and appreciate you all being here.
And thank you to all of you for putting it together. It's great.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoying it.
Yeah,
I hope
thanks
to
so
see you
much.
at the next one.
A pleasure.
All
Have
right.
a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Okay,
Bye.
look for our emails this early next week. Bye-bye
Okay,
now.
thank you.